Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start right out of the gate with a new presidential candidate. Yes, there is another one jumping in the race, and this guy is world famous. Certainly, if you ask him, he is world famous, and that is none other than Comrade de Blasio, the current mayor of the great city of New York. And this is coming to you from a Politico article. De Blasio bungled rollout, according to Politico. Bill de Blasio found a way to stand out. I guess like the Three Stooges combined into one might stand out, although that's probably a lot of disrespect to the Stooges, who I'm actually a big fan of. The 23rd candidate to enter the Democratic presidential field. 23rd, think about that. They're going to end up with 2020 for 2020? I don't know. They're over 20, right? The 23rd candidate to enter the Democratic presidential field found a slice of the limelight by botching his carefully planned announcement rollout. I know one thing he's botching is being mayor of New York, but hey, they keep electing him, so what do you say? First, a high schooler, this is according to Politico, the series of, quote, botches of his rollout, blunders, if you will. First, a high schooler in Missouri scooped de Blasio by tweeting that the New York City mayor would visit the Truman Club in Sioux City, Iowa, for the first stop in his, quote, presidential announcement tour. Presidential announcement tour, with the club initially misspelling the mayor's name. Of course, this article keeps misspelling his name because they got it small d E Blasio. I don't know, I had to keep correcting it, so I didn't make that mistake. But with the club initially misspelling the mayor's name, then protesters appeared outside the windows as de Blasio was on nationally watched Good Morning America on Thursday for his first campaign appearance. Now, it actually started all this blundering and blotching, if you will, when he had the cojones, or the arrogance, I would say, to make some sort of announcement at Trump Towers earlier this week. He went there touting his Green New Deal, which basically would return Manhattan to the state it was in when the Indians traded beads and gave the island basically away, or it's probably stolen in all honesty. But I don't know if you remember that, but go back to my Facebook page if you hadn't seen it a couple days ago. John Martin Talks directly on Facebook. By the way, I appreciate everybody listening across the network we're on, from Citizens for Trump to Deplorable Resistance, all these various networks we're on. Thank you so much. But if you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you go directly to my page, like it, and share it. That way you not only know that you're going to get the latest and the greatest, so to speak, but you'll get all my comments on various articles, memes that I publish, and those types of things. So if you want more of JMT, go check that. Go directly to John Martin Talks Facebook, like it, and share it with others. But I put a video up there earlier this week of de Blasio in Trump Tower, in the lobby, I guess, of Trump Tower. And there was a couple of up and down escalators, parallel side by side. And man, you got to love the deplorables, as I said in my post. But they came up with some signs that basically said de Blasio sucks, worst mayor ever, that kind of thing, Trump 2020. And they started going up and down the escalators. So the whole time de Blasio was talking, you had Trump supporters in the background with signs just covering it, man. You got to love the dregs and deplorables. I'm not sure if which I am someday, but Billy Bob here, he's more of a deplorable. I think I'm more of a dreg, although my dregs have basically been cut off, although I don't think I ever actually had any. And if you haven't met my sidekick, Billy Bob Bass, he keeps me straight here. Let me get him a little bit more in camera. I'm still a little bit of a work in progress in my new studio, but that's Billy Bob Bass right there. And if you're wondering what the hat says, it says make fishing great again, because I'm an old salty dog. And if you're wondering why I'm so red, it's because I go fishing a lot in the Gulf of Mexico, and I don't wear one of those terrorist fishing masks that you see sometimes. But de Blasio, man, he's been under fire all week long, so it's been really interesting. Back to the article. The two-term mayor likes to point to his decisive margins of victory in the biggest U.S. city. Now, it appears from what I've seen that New Yorkers are beginning to have second thoughts, maybe second and third thoughts about de Blasio. And and we'll talk about that more in a minute, they're not too happy with him as mayor, and they don't really think he should be running for president. You know, hey, the more the merrier at this point, the way I look at it. Take a little sip of my I want you on my side of the wall coffee mug. But the perception that he is a bungler in chief was only reinforced by his rollout. Well, we know we got a bungler in chief leading the Democratic field right now in Joe Biden, so, you know, why not de Blasio? But remember, de Blasio famously said on Bill Maher's show a few months back, I guess it was late last year, he said that when it comes to the 2020 field, that centrists need not apply. So maybe that's why he's running, because he doesn't want to see Biden a centrist, because there's no room for centrist moderates in the Democratic Party. Take it from Conrad de Blasio. You don't have to trust me, but you could. But de Blasio tells you right from the start. But he's the bungler in chief, which continues Friday and Saturday with travel to Iowa and South Carolina, 2 key early voting states. So he's coming down south, man. Are y'all ready for him in South Carolina? I don't know. Do I need to fake a Southern accent? In South Carolina. No, I guess I don't really, right? I could fake an English accent, but I think this is old. Believe it or not, whatever accent I got, it is genuine, I assure you. But communications consultant Eric Sofer, a managing director of Tusk Strategies, which ran the campaign of de Blasio's foe, former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, said in an email, "I'm not sure it's sunk in yet, but he," talking about de Blasio, "is not competing, it is comedic, right? Competing against other ragtag campaigns." Oh, really? Have you seen these jackasses on jackasses, I call them? If you're new to the show, you might wonder why I call them jackasses on jackasses, referring to the 2020 field. Of course, we're supposed to have our first debate in the Democrats coming up in June, so expect everybody to try to pile in over the next couple of weeks. But the first question I would ask any Democrat at a debate was, did you sign off on the Green New Deal? Well, we know de Blasio did, because he's like all for it, right? And pretty much all of them have like signed off. So I would do that thing like they try to do to Republicans. How many of you believe in the Green New Deal? And they raise their hand. You raise your hand. And the next question I would ask them is, how did you get here? And if it wasn't on the back of a jackass, then you are not being sincere, because the Green New Deal doesn't want you to ride a fast plane or a slow train or a car of any kind. So they need to really be jackasses on jackasses. Hoo-yah, whatever. But Sofer went on to say, he, talking about de Blasio, is competing against seriously staffed, deeply funded, totally professional operations. Talking about the current 2020 field. Those campaigns have dozens of staffers obsessed with making sure everything looks perfect for their candidate. Biden's hair was perfect. Well, I don't know if it was as good looking as mine is now, but his rollout was perfect, right? He has maybe 1 or 2, talking about de Blasio, staffers doing this, and they're already working overtime just to get this thing off the ground. Is he paying them for that overtime? That'd be a question I'd have. It's unrealistic. And who's paying that? Are you taxpayers in New York paying for that? I wouldn't be surprised. It's unrealistic to expect anything more from them, but the press and the voters won't care. Well, let me tell you right now, de Blasio is an outright communist. That's why I call him Comrade de Blasio. He is a communist. He's beyond just a socialist. He is actually a communist. There is very little doubt about that. The people, and there's proof of what I'm saying as this article continues. The people of New York City who elected de Blasio to a second mayoral term in 2017 are especially reticent about him running for president. Is that so? According to this Quinnipiac University poll released in April, only 18% of the city's voters said he should run for president, with 76% saying he should not. The respondents were uniform across political parties, gender, race, and which borough they lived in, Quinnipiac said. You know, and I don't dispute those numbers. I mean, I'm sure they're probably accurate as polls get. But here's my thing. They being the citizens of New York, voted for this yahoo, this outright communist, Comrade de Blasio, not once, but twice. They voted for this guy twice, so how much stock do you put in them? At least maybe, I will give the city the great, and I lived in New York City for almost 5 years back in the mid-'80s. I love New York City. I worked there. It's great, and people of New York are great people. But you do come up with some fruitcakes for mayor occasionally, from time to time. And I would just say one thing, not only did you elect me twice, but I'll give you some credit, New Yorkers. At least it appears you don't want to inflict your pain on the nation as a whole. So thank you for that, and hope you will come out against this guy. De Blasio's day job, as mayor has its challenges as well. Imagine that, challenges as well. From what I hear, Blasio's main challenge is just showing up for work every day. But Riza Heller, who is chief executive of public affairs from Riza Heller Communications, said in an email, "It's no surprise that the mayor is leaning on day one that running for president can't get wedged between his mid-morning workout and eating his late breakfast." Boy, this guy does a lot of hard work, doesn't he? He'll work out the kinks, but America will groan along with New Yorkers until he does. This guy, like I say, he's a perfect communist. And you know what you need to be a perfect communist, and Ocasio-Cortez fits into this as well as many others, is to be a perfect communist, you have to, especially a leader, you have to adapt and be able to look right in the camera like I'm doing now and basically say, do what I say, not what I does. Don't do what I do what I say. Because communists, man, one thing we know, they live the life of luxury while the rest of you are working like you're on something from Hunger Games, which is what the Democrats are pushing us to, by the way. But anyway, we'll see how Comrade de Blasio does. He's going to certainly push people further to the left, because I don't think you could get any further to the left than this dude. But so I guess the Democratic field is hungry for another white dude. Maybe I should run. I ain't running from anything right now, and it feels pretty good, actually. All right, we're going to move on. This is another article from Politico, and of course, as I've told you before, I look at some of these programs, read some of these publications, so you don't have to. So you can thank me later. It's a public service I do to you, from my heart to yours. But Trump's new immigration plan may be DOA, in other words, dead on arrival, but it's really about 2020, according to Politico. President Donald Trump knows the new immigration plan he unveiled Thursday is probably dead on arrival, but that isn't the point. So you may be asking like me, well, what is the point? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. Instead of trying to push it through Congress, Trump is already treating the plan less like a legislative blueprint and more as a campaign document as he readies for his tough 2020 re-election fight. So it's tough. Now, they're making it a bit easier. I don't know if it's going to be tough against somebody like de Blasio. But here's the thing. I applaud President Trump for doing this. He needs to push this on out there, even though he knows it's dead on arrival with Congress, with the legislative side that the Democrats control. You'd think they control the entire government. That's how Democrats act. They act as if all the time, and I've been telling you about that. But remember back during the Obama administration when the Senate, the Republicans controlled both the Senate and the House at times? Certainly the House for a large portion of it, and really both the Senate. How many bills did they actually push forward to the president's desk to sign, even though they knew he was going to veto it? Now, the House did multiple times, right? But the Senate never did, really. And I think that was a mistake then, and it would be a mistake now. You need to put things up for vote, even if they're not going to pass muster in either one of the houses, or the president, in the case of Obama, wasn't going to sign them. Because you need to put them on the record as to where they actually stand. And for whatever reason, Mitch McConnell just would not do that. So I'm wondering if he's got the smarts to do that now. And I hope so, but we'll see. Although Trump renewed his call for a Mexican border wall, Trump reading from a teleprompter, I like how they describe this, Trump reading from a teleprompter in a traditional Rose Garden event took an uncharacteristically mild tone on immigration, saying his plan has heart and calling America welcoming. Now, there's bias in this reporting, right? Because the mere mention of a teleprompter, did you ever remember them ever saying that about any other presidents? Maybe Bush, maybe. I mean, he needed to read from a teleprompter. He couldn't read from a teleprompter. That's another story. You got to love the Bushes, right? You know, what did he say that one time about fool me once, something or another? Anyway, go back and check it out. But reading from a teleprompter, they never pointed that out about Obama, although he read from a teleprompter all the time. The reason they point this out is a couple-fold. One, they're trying to point out that this may not be how the president truly feels, that he's being manipulated or just saying what his talking heads behind him want to say, that Trump's not being Trump, that kind of thing. And the other thing is to make it sound like that, that they don't trust him to not become unhinged, you know, and have to invoke the 25th Amendment or whatever on him. So, and this whole thing about mild tone, see, they also tie that into the teleprompter, that if you let Trump be Trump, that he doesn't have a mild tone, which if you follow President Trump is an absolute lie, especially when it comes to immigration. Now, some people, even conservatives, have criticized, like Ms. Coulter, she's criticized Trump for being too mild on immigration, right? You know, you could argue whether she's right or not, but Trump from the very beginning, President Trump, campaigner, Trump, elector Trump, president-elect, all that, he said constantly that he wanted to build a wall, but it would have a big gate in it to let people in legitimately, legally. He said that from the very beginning. So this idea that Trump is just opposed to any immigration at all, which some people think he should be, by the way, is just simply not true. Trump has had a mild tone on it from the very beginning. He has just spoken the truth, and the truth the Democrats don't want to hear. But President Trump said, the millions of legal immigrants who have come to America over the past half century are now cherished members of our national family. Legal immigrants. He is for legal immigration. He's been that way to, like I say, to the chagrin of quite a few conservatives who basically want to stop, at least temporarily, all immigration. At the center of Trump's plan is a merit-based system. Merit-based. Imagine that. Boy, what could be wrong with that? Well, I'll tell you in just a moment. At the center of Trump's plan is a merit-based system to admit more high-skilled, well-educated immigrants, rather than ones who enter the U.S. based on family ties or whether the native country has a low rate of immigration. So on all these different factors that really, end the chain migration, into the lottery system, and revamping the whole asylum seekers so they don't just come up with some basic textbook way or hey, I got a child, here's my token child, that kind of thing, because that is happening. People rent a child kind of thing. But it said it would also, this is Trump's plan, it would also include measures boosting security at the southern border similar to ones he has called for previously. Now, merit-based. What could be wrong with that? Well, according to Nancy Pelosi and quite a few of the people I heard from that are running in 2020 on the Democratic side, that merit-based is racist. Somehow that's a racist statement from the president, that somehow it only is about people of non-color, which everybody has a color. Mine is, I got gray, red, black, blue. I got every color in the rainbow. But think about that, merit-based. A lot of the people that are so-called merit-based, the engineers and stuff like that, and computer people, a lot of them are Indian, right? And Chinese. Last time I checked, the Indians were people of color, some color. Chinese are people, if you want to call it color. We're all people of some color. I guess the only people that have no color is old white bread, Captain White Bread, like me, I'll rise to the occasion, a new superhero. But think about that. They're saying that Trump is racist for saying it's merit-based. Isn't that an insult in and of itself, Nancy Pelosi? Aren't you saying then by de facto that people of color can't be merit-based? That makes no sense to me. You're implying, Ms. Pelosi, that people of Hispanic descent from the South might not have the merit to get into the United States, so therefore it's racist? To me, that statement is racist, to imply that people would not have merit based on color. That's ridiculous. Everyone has some level of merit or some capability of achieving. I don't think achievement is based on color. If it is, Nancy Pelosi, if true, as the Democrats like to say, that is a very racist statement indeed. But hey, that's just my opinion, and I think Billy Bob shares it as well. back to the article here. Some Republicans have urged Trump and his aides to soften his language and policies to regain support of suburban voters in central and key electoral states, including Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Well, what, first of all, is the evidence that he's lost that support? The rallies he's had there have been just tremendous. He's had tremendous rallies in several of those states, so I'm not sure that that is an accurate statement. But let's go on. That were instrumental to his 2016 win. There's no doubt about that. According to former Trump advisor who remains close to the White House, so it's an anonymous source, right? They're always anonymous. So I mean, do Republicans really need the president to soften? Does the president need to? I mean, where have the Republicans got with their softened tone? They hadn't been winning much with a softened tone, right? It wasn't until the old Trumpster came along. And it's not about soft or not soft. It's about truth versus not true. Just let Trump be Trump. If I had anything to say to the president, I would say at the end of the, now I have concerns about different things. Sometimes, like a lot of people, he might overstate some things. He might be a bit braggadocious and sometimes bombastic. But really, when you roll it all up into one big ball, I wouldn't change a thing. I would just say, Mr. President, go be yourself. Go be the guy we voted for in 2016 and have been going to rallies. And I still hadn't been paid, by the way, in case people are getting paid, according to what was Rosie O'Donnell, that people that go to Trump rallies are being paid by Putin. Well, I ain't got my check yet, Rosie, and I've been to several rallies. And Putin, man, if you owe me some money, man, I'll take it in some rubles, I guess, but I'd rather have some gold bullion, but that's just me. But I ain't been paid. But Mr. President, if you're listening out there, and I know there are actually people, because I've been told by some pretty high up muckety mucks, that there are people in the administration who have actually watched the old salty dog a time or two. So, Mr. President, just be yourself, sir. Be yourself and you'll be fine. Trump's new plan also aims to show that he's working hard to solve the immigration problem, but the Democrats are standing in his way. What is new about that? They've been standing in his way before he even took office, right? That's what the whole Mueller investigation is all about. It's about standing in the way. The only obstruction has been the obstruction of Trump being the president of the United States, and he's persevered pretty good, mainly because he's got support of people like me and you out there. That's what's really motivated the president and keeps him on top. They hate President Trump. A lot of these never Trumpers and rhinos and swamp ratters like King Swamp Rat Mitt Romney, and of course the Dems all hate him. The establishment, the leaders of the party, they hate President Trump. There's no doubt about it. But you know who they hate more than President Trump? There's one person on this planet that they hate more than President Trump, and they fear more than President Trump. You know who that is? It's you. It's you. People like on Citizens for Trump, Deplorable Resistance, people that are watching on John Martin Talks Facebook page, go there directly and like it, please. They hate us. They hate the dregs, the deplorables, or anybody who's willing to give President Trump a chance to actually do the job. They hate and fear us the most. They fear you the most because they know that they cannot win as long as we remain strong and united and push for the president. And they fear us the most, because President Trump one day will be gone one way or another. But us deplorables and dregs, we're still here and we're growing. That's something to be afraid about. We're growing. But Trump went on to say, if for some reason, possibly political, we can't get the Democrats to approve this merit-based high security plan, then we will get it approved immediately after the election. When we take back the House, amen, keep the Senate, amen, and of course, hold the presidency. Amen, brother. Amen. But he says, wouldn't it be nice to do it sooner than that? It would, but it sounds like you got a great plan to me, President Trump. Keep the pressure on those rats. They hate the light of day, man. You shine that old flashlight on them, they run for the corners. President Trump, man, he has been shining the light on the rats, I'm telling you now. But Trump campaign spokesman woman Kayleigh McEnany, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. This old salty dog, sometimes some of these names are hard for me to say, said it's important for voters to be reminded that on this issue, there will be a clear choice in 2020. Hey, there's a pretty clear choice right now. I mean, you pick one person From de Blasio, who just entered, all the way to like Pocahontas, who's been running forever. Seems like she's running on a treadmill because she ain't getting nowhere. But pick any one of the 100 people or whatever that are running for president on the Democratic side and tell me which one wouldn't be a clear choice between President Trump and fill in the blank. I mean, give me a break. But the Senate, let me just tell you, the Senate should take this bill. Yes, it's dead on arrival with Nancy Pelosi, but the Senate should take this bill and pass some version of it immediately or as soon as possible to put pressure on the House and direct the dialogue to show that they are not for securing the border. Well, a lot of us already know, but make it clear to the nation. Are you listening, Mitch? Are you listening, old turtlehead? I say that with some face. No, I don't. You know, Mitch McConnell, are you listening? Please do your job and put this on the table no matter what to put pressure on the Democrats. All right, this next story, man, is just crazy to say the least. And it shows just how screwed up we are becoming, not individually, maybe, but as a nation. Some of the idiocy of some of the things we're doing and why we probably can't solve a lot of real problems, excuse me, in this country. This is coming to you from the AP. It says, blurred lines, a pregnant man's tragedy tests gender notion. A pregnant man. So you're like, I didn't think that was possible. And it's not, but wait till we get into this story. When the man arrived at the hospital with severe abdominal pains, a nurse didn't consider it an emergency, noting that he was obese and had stopped taking blood pressure medicines. In reality, he was pregnant. Wow, how could that be? It's a miracle. He was pregnant. The man was pregnant. Wait a minute. He's not a man. He's a transgender man in label that was about to end in stillbirth. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this next statement, and this is my words, probably going to get me in trouble, but I'm just going to say it anyway. There's no such thing as transgender. There is no such thing. It is a made-up word. Now, am I saying that there aren't people who consider themselves transgender and certain groups consider? Yeah, sure. But when I'm saying it doesn't exist in science. It only exists in the minds of people, in the actions of people. It is not based scientifically. There are no such thing scientifically as a transgender. You are born male or female. Now, there's a couple of exceptions, and we know what that is scientifically, but generally speaking, 99.999 or whatever percent of the time, you are born male or female. Are you preordained to be gay? Are you a man living in a woman's body? That's above my pay grade, to be honest with you. But I do know that you were born male and female. It's just the way it is. So there's no such thing. And let me just tell you, before I go any deeper, I used to work at a drug treatment center. And one of the things I would tell my clients is, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what you believe, because they were so set on what they believed, where they believed in God or this or that, and where they believed in that they could do it through willpower and everything. I say, you're giving way too much credence to what you actually believe, because in some things, it doesn't matter what you believe. And what I would do, and I'm going to give you a little demonstration, John Martin, the science guy, right? Better than that guy, whatever his name is. But anyway, take gravity, for example. Does it really matter if you believe in gravity or not? It exists, right? And I used to hold up my car keys. I got a little bracket here I'm going to say. So you can sit here and go, I don't believe in gravity, man. Gravity don't exist. And you drop it, and what happens? It falls to the ground, or in this case, to my dad's old desk. It doesn't matter what you believe in some things. Facts are facts. You can sit there and go, oh, I just truly believe. You can pray about it, I mean, God could open part the sea, but I don't think he's going to, take away gravity just to prove something to you, right? So you can sit there and go, I just believe so much. It's just, I know it's true that there is no gravity. And it's going to fall every single time. So it doesn't matter if you don't believe in genders. That's just scientific fact. You're born male or female. Now, you can do all this crazy stuff you want to, and my heart goes out to people who are confused about that. But to base medical care on anything less than science is foolish, at least, right? So what difference does it make what you believe when it comes to male and female? The tragic case described in Wednesday's New England Journal of Medicine points to larger issues about assigning labels. No, it doesn't point to that. It points to arrogance and idiocy. Because if you really think that God made you, made you Adam and Eve, doesn't matter what you think, that's true. There's Adam, there's Eve, male, female, that's all that matters. And you can, through your arrogance, say you're going to change all that. You're going to buck science or laugh in the face of God or whatever you want to call it. The reality is male, female. So to go against that, you're arrogant and you're idiot. That's just the way it is. And it goes on, are making assumptions in a society increasingly confronting gender variations, and it gives examples like sports, like, the men competing with the women. That's just wrong, period, okay? I mean, to me, can we not just call it for what it is? If a man, I don't care what they label themselves, I don't care what they put on, cut off, whatever, a man competing, a person that was born scientifically a man, competing against women in sports from high school all the way up to pros is just wrong. Period. That's not my opinionated fact. It's just fact. And it goes entertainment and government, making rules and regulations like bathrooms and all that kind of. The solution to the bathroom situation, by the way, and I've said it before, but if I say it, it bears repeating. We just need to go to all portalettes. Just portalettes everywhere because they're gender neutral, right? They're flushless, so you don't have to worry about the water. So they're environmentally friendly. We just need to face the truth, do away with all indoor plumbing, and just go with portalettes. Problem solved. But it goes on to say in this article, in medicine, there's a similar danger of missing diseases such as sickle cell and cystic fibrosis that largely affect specific racial groups. I guess, saying, hey, I'm not black, I'm whatever. And you got sickle cell. I mean, it's just stupid. The authors wrote, there's these authors to this study. And let me just ask you, how about insanity? It's talking about similar danger of missing disease. No, it's just insanity. It's crazy to put your physical health in danger for some made up crap, just to satisfy your inner self or whatever. Leave your stuff on the street and be true in science. But the author of this study, Dr. Daphne Stramos of the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, said, the point is not what's happened to this particular individual. And this guy died, so I think that is a point. Or this girl. I say it gets confusing. But this is an example of what happens to transgender people interacting with the healthcare system. Think about that. This is a professional person says that this is what happens to transgender people interacting with the healthcare system. What that shows me is you can be highly educated and still be an idiot, because that's what this is. Stromos went on to say talking about this woman now, it gets confusing. This woman that claimed to be a man that ended up pregnant and dying from it, keep that in mind as I read this paragraph. This paragraph is crazy. He was rightly classified as a man. No, he wasn't. He was wrongly classified as a man in the medical record and appears masculine. But the classification threw us off from considering his actual medical needs. That's because you're an idiot. The person can call themselves what they want. They're still a woman. It's still a woman. I don't care what you say. But rightly classified as a man. Let me just tell you, I didn't go to medical school, but I know a little something. And this may come as a shock to you snowflakes, so hang on. You might want to, you're melting. If I'm melting, you deserve to be melting. But men can't get pregnant. Not right now. Now, maybe in the future they can, but men can't get pregnant. So the fact that this person, and I'm not downplaying their tragic death, it is tragic, but the tragedy is the arrogance and idiocy that we try to put pronouns over health. I mean, how insane do you have to be worried about your classification, your pronoun classification at the expense of your life? I mean, if that's not idiocy, arrogance, and flat out insanity, I don't know what is. But the doctors prepared to do an emergency cesarean delivery once they found out this man was pregnant. But in the operating room, no fetal heartbeat was heard. Moments later, the man delivered a stillborn baby. No, he didn't. The woman delivered a stillborn baby, not a man. I mean, this is just stupid and tragic. But the authors of this study went on to write, a woman showing up with similar symptoms would almost surely have been triaged and elevated more urgently for pregnancy-related problems. She was a woman. A woman did show up. I mean, this is just nuts, man. A woman showed up. I don't care what they did or called themselves. God made this person a woman. I'm just going to say it. And it was a woman that came there, and a woman got pregnant. I mean, wow. Why is it, they make this complicated? It's not, the only complicated thing is the level of your idiocy and arrogance, man. It's very upsetting. This is according to Dr. Tamara Wexler, a hormone specialist at NYU Langone Medical Center, said, it's a very upsetting incident. It's a tragic outcome. The tragedy of this outcome, I mean, anybody dying like this, tragic. I agree with that. I'm not trying to downplay that. But the tragic is preventable if science instead of idiocy were applied. That's what the real tragedy is. They're so caught up in their idiocy, they don't apply science that they were trained for that could have saved this person. I mean, it's ridiculous. But they go on to say, and this Wexler says, medical training should include exposure to transgender patients so health workers are better able to meet their needs. You can meet their needs if you just treated them for who they really are and not who they think they are. A lot of doctors who are practicing didn't have that in their training. Thank God they're actually training to do heart surgery instead of trying to figure out which pronoun to use. But they want them to do that. It says, but training, it says, but it can still learn from such patients now. What could they learn from this? What could a current doctor, say someone who's 60 years old, who hadn't had this training, as they say, what could they learn from this? Maybe they could learn what they already know, that a woman is a woman and a man is a man, and treat them accordingly to what they actually are, not according to what their pronoun is. I mean, that's something they could learn maybe. But I got a radical idea, and I just want to share it with you. I'm always trying to help here at JMT. I'm just trying to help. Here's my radical idea. Practice your, these are my words, practice your idiocy on the street, but leave it at the door when you enter the real world of science. In other words, you can be whatever you want to be. I'm not downgrading it. I might scratch my head and go, that looks like that's a dude in a dress, not a woman. I mean, I may do all that. I reserve the right to think whatever I want. You're not going to change what's in a man's thought process. Of course, I guess in your school system you might, but that's another story. Run for school board, by the way. If you're trying to make change and you're conservative out there, run for school board. You don't have to all run for Congress. We need people in school board. Side story. But if you practice whatever idiocy you want. Call yourself whatever you want out on the street. I got no issue with that, if that's what you want. But when it comes to science, and the liberals, the progressives always say, you don't believe in science. Well, this person died because they don't believe in science. They believe in some idiocy of a pronoun. So when you actually enter the real world of science, like a hospital, how about just tell them you're a man or you're a woman in this case? I mean, why bet your life on a pronoun? It's crazy. But Nick Ryder, a transgender health specialist and psychologist, I wonder how that goes together, psychologist, at the University of Minnesota, said training isn't enough. So it's not enough to get trained in lunacy and idiocy and non-scientific things that apply to medicine. See, this person goes, it's hard to even know what these people are, if they're women or men, because they don't use pronouns, right? There are implicit biases that need to be addressed, Ryder said. No, there is not implicit biases that need to be addressed. It's called science, you fool. It's science. The only thing that needs to be addressed is reality, and not the insanity that you want to live in. The reality of the world, that you're a man or a woman. It don't matter what you call yourself. The science is still the same. Remember, you don't have to believe in gravity, but it's still going to fall. It believes in you, right? Health records may use male, female. This is according to Ryder. Health records may use male, female templates for gender, but it doesn't mean that we just throw out critical thinking or think about how humans are diverse. Critical think, oh my God. So now they're saying it's critical thinking to put the person's pronoun, what pronoun they want to be called, over their actual health. And these, I get choked up, sorry about that. These are people of science. These are people, medical people, professional people, people with doctorate degrees in various philosophical pursuits. These are supposed to be the best and the brightest. And they're saying that, they're basically saying that you should put a person's pronoun choice over their physical health. And they call themselves intelligent. I'm sorry, man. I mean, you know, I may channel myself any way I want, but when my life depends on it, I'm an old white dude, trust me. I mean, I could say, I'm this, that, the other, you know, I'm a black. One of my guests one time said that he's trying to just make a point, and I think it's slightly offensive or something like that. He basically says that he channels himself as a black lesbian female, even though he is actually, I hate to tell you, a white dude like me. You can channel whatever you want. But when it comes to your life, for God's sakes, if you don't get nothing else out of this show, get this. When it comes to your health, be who you are. Who you really are. Who God made you, not who you want to pretend to be. This case is horrifying, according to Jillian Bannister, a spokeswoman, at least we know that, a spokeswoman for advocacy group. Isn't that like a violation of a pronoun? Why can't it be a spokesperson? Woman for advocacy group, the National Center for Transgender Equality in Washington. Let me just tell you, there's nothing more equalizing than your health. I mean, when it comes to health, we're all equal there. We got a short time here no matter what. I suggest being truthful with your doctor. I know that's radical, but that's just me. But it says this case is horrifying, not terribly surprising. Horrifying. Horrifying. What's horrifying, among other things, is this whole belief system is horrifying. But what's even more horrifying is the next statement out of this Jillian Bannister's mouth here. Let me read this. Transgender people often run into problems getting gender-specific health care, such as cervical cancer screening, birth control, and prostate cancer screening. Gender-specific health care. How about gender-specific health care starts with the truth? You can't go in and say you need a prostate when you don't screen when you don't have a prostate, or that you need, you know, screening for cervical cancer when you don't have a cervical. I mean, it's crazy, man. This is just gets deeper and deeper. But Bannister's not the top. They top themselves here. Bannister said more needs to be done to improve medical awareness and recognition of diversity, because the consequences can be so dire as this case shows. So dire as this case shows. This case is dire because you're all idiots and fools and arrogant, and you're practicing. You say you believe in science. You're the top trained people in science, but you don't even believe in the science. The fact that God made a man and a woman. Now, if you want to say the rest is up to us, hey, I can accept that. But it don't change the science of it. It don't matter what I believe. It don't matter what you believe. If you're a man when you came into this world, it don't matter what you cut off, add on, or a woman. You're still a man, you're still a woman. It's insane, but it shows just how crazy we are that we waste any time. Think about this, and I'll close on this and move on to the next story. Just how crazy this country is with all the problems we have in this country, that we are focused time and energy, want to retrain doctors based on lunacy. That we don't just simply say, hey, be whoever you want to be, but when you come through them sliding doors or in the ambulance, you're either a man or a woman. And we're going to apply medicine to what's really going on, not some creator. Can you channel, well, I don't really have the disease. I'm not really pregnant. I mean, it's just crazy. Anyway. We're going to end on a very sad note for this weekend. And before I get into, I hate to end on a sad note, but I got to spread this news because it's pretty sad. But before I do that, let me just tell you what I'm doing this weekend. No, I'm not going fishing, so I might not be as red. I wish I was. But I'm going to the Republican Party of Florida quarterly meeting down in Sarasota, Florida. And I tell you that because I'm planning to do some live streaming there. I'll probably just live stream to my John Martin Talks Facebook page, and I may live stream to the local Alachua County, which is where I live, Republican Party. But if you want to check those out, and if some of them turn out pretty good, I don't know, I'm going to try to interview some people, that kind of thing. I may post them across some other sites with their permission. But stay tuned because I will do some live streaming on my site for sure. All right, this next story brings me no joy whatsoever. And it comes to you from the Daily Mail, but I'm sure it's making headlines around the world. Grumpy Cat is dead. Now, if I showed you a picture, you'd know. You already know who Grumpy Cat is. It's that cat that looks like, kind of like that, right? The world mourns as internet's most famous feline passes away, age 7. That's young for a cat. I got a cat older than that. After amassing $100 million, $100 million fortune and sparking countless memes. The world's crankiest cat with a permanent scowl has inspired countless memes, a best-selling series of books, and a movie has passed away at age 7. Grumpy Cat, owned by Tabitha Bundenson from Morristown, Arizona, shot to fame in 2012 in a YouTube video that got 15.7 million views and earned more than Hollywood stars such as Nicole Kidman, Cameron Diaz, and Matthew McConaughey during that same period of time when they were actually pretty hot. Even amassing a reported, and I repeat, a reported $100 million fortune. I'll tell you right now, I don't know if you're listening out there to own it, you should have had this game cloned, man. You should be cloning. I know in Arizona they got one of them cryogenic things. You need to freeze this cat, man. If it's worth $100 million, man, that's worth cloning. But not enough to put a smile on the face of internet sensation, real name Tadar Sauce, who was born with dwarfism that caused this underbite look, that gave it the look. I tell you. But the cat's family, her family took to Instagram this morning to announce the news that she died on Tuesday from a urinary tract infection. That can be very serious, obviously. Saying some days are grumpier than others. Heartbroken fans have rushed to pay tribute to Grumpy Cat, but the owner said she passed away peacefully on the morning of Tuesday, May 14th, at the home in the arms of her mommy, Tabitha. So my heart goes out to it. Really, I know this is funny in one sense, but man, does it not show the greatness of capitalism that you can take a cat that literally had a birth defect and it could catch fire and make $100 million? And I'm sure that there will be life after death for this memes and all of that. So I applaud the people that were able to come up with this. I'm saddened for the loss of their pet. Laying all jokes aside, when you lose a pet, man, it is devastating. I have a cat and a dog, and I love them both. So I don't belittle that in any way, shape, or form. But it actually shows in a certain comic fashion the greatness of America and the capitalist society, that you can literally have a cat that can make you $100 million. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. As I say, stay tuned on my John Martin Talks Facebook page for some live streaming over the weekend at the Republican Party of Florida quarterly meetings down in Sarasota. I'm sure I'll see a lot of MAGA hat wearing people down there, and we'll see if there's any protesters. I'll keep you posted. I've enjoyed bringing you the show from the new bunker I have here at John Martin Talks Central. Have a great weekend, but above all else, as I say every day, from my family to yours, from my heart to yours, have a blessed day.